Hi everyone! In this video I will tell you how I proceeded to color Norse Mythology book by Jade Summer and how I almost managed to destroy the whole book in the process. After I finished the color portrait of Frey, I was tired of traditional colors. Pale blue sky, green grass, brown and grey stones and mountains. I wanted something more dramatic, and for such an experiment, I selected this page, Portrait of God Taitse. It's not very famous god. I put short info about this god in the beginning of this video. I also wasn't very impressed by the picture. I love eagle, but castle looks a little bit childish. Anyway, I decided that I want to create dramatic golden, orange, crimson background. And I know that in my White Nights watercolors I have wonderful orange, golden, peach, crimson and various shades of orange colors, so they are really beautiful and I decided to use them for the background. Probably I was deceived by the similarity of this paper and paper in Creative Heaven. I thought that if papers are similar in thickness, it will be possible also here to create watercolor underpaint. But when I touched this paper with my wet brush, it was such a terrible sight. I immediately noticed all those black stains, and that's when I realized that the biggest problem is that on the back of the page we have that black printing, black paint, and it became visible through the wet page. Norse Mythology is my one and only book with such a black paint on the other side of the picture, so idea that this black paint could create any problems hadn't arrived to my mind at all. Well, I was terrified, and the only thought I have is that it's nice that I have two sets of pages, and second, it's also nice that I don't treasure this picture a lot. Anyway, I decided to wait until paper would dry and to look if those black stains would disappear after drying. I waited and dried picture looked a little bit better, but in the same time all watercolors lost their intensity, and of course I didn't want to risk and to apply second layer of the same paint. So I decided to switch to gouache paints. I use gouache without adding water, and also it's opaque, so I hoped that gouache would help me to mask those ugly black stains, and I managed to cover the biggest part of them, so background probably doesn't look exactly like I imagined it, but at least it wasn't ruined completely. When I waited for the sky to dry, I decided to cover area of the mountains using my set of 12 shades of grey acrylic paints. I used a little bit of warm grey, a little bit of red grey. It's because I remembered this legend about castle of the Tatse god, which was surrounded by dried lava. At that moment I thought that all my troubles with this picture were behind me. Oh, how I was mistaken! The most dreadful part was ahead of me. I covered mountains with grayish-red color, and I thought that all the contrasts and additional colors I will be adding with colored pencils. So I waited for a couple of minutes for acrylic paint to dry. All paints were already dried, and I thought that I don't like that my page is wrinkled. You can clearly see it, and especially in the upper part where I tried to use watercolors. And you know that I don't like to color on the wrinkled page and that I usually iron my books. I decided to do the same thing with this one. I took my iron, I set it on medium just like I do. Usually, I protected my page by putting two clear sheets of paper on top of my page and beneath it, and I very bravely ironed it. I've never had problems with ironing books or ironing paper before. I always got very nice results and paper always become smooth. But here I immediately realized that something went terribly wrong. I discovered that the back paint on the back of each page was sticked to the next page due to the high temperature. And it was especially terrible when this black paint sticked to the already finished pictures, especially to my fray. Here you probably can't see all black ugly stains, but on this portrait of Baldur you can clearly see that this picture is totally ruined. It wasn't possible to delete this printer pigment using any eraser, and again, that was the moment when I was extremely happy that I have two sets of pictures in the book. So when I complained about having two excessive sets of pictures, now I realize that I was mistaken, and that's it. I am lucky. But still, word of warning, if you have similar books with black paint on the back of your pictures, don't iron them, because I think around 5 or even 6 next pages was completely sticked to one another, and I had huge problems by dividing them, and it was nice that I touched uh, this book with my iron very brightly with for probably 20 or 30 seconds. Of course, I was very unhappy. I was especially disappointed that there were black stains on the sky around Frey, but later I managed to mask them using uh, pale gray and pale blue neocolor crayons. And of course, I was very disappointed that a couple of pictures in the book were destroyed. I really wanted to uh, color the first set of pictures and to be able to flip them through. And now I will need to cover pictures from the second set. Anyway, the motto of this coloring is never give up. I decided that I won't stop coloring this page, and now when it's almost destroyed, I can feel free and I can experiment with colors, I can use various mediums, and I proceeded to color. Next, I used various shades of dark gray and black pencils, and first I added some contrast to the mountains behind, and then I created black castle. For the castle, I used various pencils from Arteza sets. Arteza has not a bad variety of gray colors, both warm and gray shades, and from lightest to darkest. Now I work on the highlighted areas of the castle to create more contrasts, and also I wanted to make it more ominous, something like this, and I decided to add a little bit of red glow to the walls. And here, one of the Neo color crayons was very helpful. I use it without water, just like a regular crayon, on top of the area which was already colored with pencils, and it helped me to add very pleasant reddish glow on top of the black. I am not sure that it's visible on the screen because of the very contrast picture, but in reality it helped a little bit to make this castle less boring. Next, I had to color eagle, and again I decided that I will do first layer using acrylic paints. Again, my set of 12 shades of gray acrylic paints. I selected cool gray and then mid gray. They are like warm and cold shades of gray with the same intensity, and I put them as a first layer on the feathers on the wings, and then I switched to Prismacolors and to polychromacies to create contrasts, color accents, and to create some texture. During this coloring process, I had a couple of moments of high doubts whether I need to proceed. Maybe it's start to color the second copy of the same page. I wasn't happy with the colors which I selected. I wanted castle to be black, and traditional colors for the eagle are brown and gray, but it was risky because colors are similar and I somehow had to divide eagle from the castle, and besides this eagle looks a little bit like owl for me. Anyway, I decided that I won't give up, and in the end, I was happy that I finished to color this page. It's far from perfect. I don't like my sky, obviously, because it was created not because I wanted to it to look in that way, but it was created to mask black ugly stains. But still, I'm happy that at least I worked with unusual colors for me, that I created this dramatic picture which I wanted to do. I'm also happy that I used first layer of acrylic paints on the wings of the eagle. It helped to create difference of textures because acrylic is more opaque comparing to pencils. So eagle on the forefront started to pop up a little bit, and acrylic paint helped me to divide wings of the eagle from the background in similar colors. It took me awful amount of time, and I to save this picture to create some resemblance of feather texture on the eagle. It was very long coloring, probably not very interesting to watch, but what I wanted to share with you is that sometimes we can have very unpleasant surprise from our books. I definitely hadn't realized that ironing pages with black paint underneath could create similar problems. And now I think that I am very fortunate that I hadn't ruined the whole book. It would be pity to lost two already finished pictures in it. I got some nice experience by using various mediums. Here I mixed a lot: pencils on top of acrylic, neocolors on top of pencils, neocolors on top of the gouache, neocolors on top of acrylic, and it really helped me to get some experience how to save unlucky pictures, how to mask your mistakes, and how to mix your mediums. So, in the way, I was quite satisfied with my final. result and with this unfortunate page. I think that I will make a short break coloring in this book. Two last colorings were not very easy for me. I struggled with materials, I struggled with images, but as I totally in love with these images, I think that for the next pictures I will stop to experiment for a while and probably I will try to color something with colored pencils only. But I definitely will proceed to coloring it. I really hope that one day I will have the full set of Norse mythology gods.